All right, we got.
I feel slighted.
Good evening, everybody. I'd like to call to order a regular meeting of the Board of Education of the Goshen Central School District being held Monday, January 22nd, 2024 at 6:30 p.m. here in the District Administration Building and being live streamed on YouTube. This evening, after the pledge, I'd like to ask everybody to please take a moment of silence. The Goshen community has had quite a few losses since our last meeting. Father of one of our high school students, Mr. Olberling, Ronald Micah, a retired custodian from GIS, Josephine Amante DeLuca, a retired art teacher at GHS, and Jeffrey Lloyd, father of Kristen Scully and husband of Molly Lloyd, both in our high school. So please keep them in your thoughts for a moment after our pledge.
United States of America. To the republic which stands one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, everyone. Moving on to our next agenda item. Need a motion for executive session. Ashley and John. Be resolved, the Board of Education will enter into an executive session with the intent to reconvene the business portion of the meeting for discussions related to a student discipline matter. All those in favor? Opposed? Thank you, everybody. We'll be back shortly.
Yeah, I'm not going. My nose is 50% closing. Ice. 9 to 12. I'm gonna use more ice. Parker. Yeah.
I need a motion to reconvene meetings. Right. Next item, privilege of the floor. Persons wishing to speak should first be recognized by the president, then identify themselves. Any group or organization wishing to address the board must identify a single spokesperson. Comments shall be brief and concise, generally not exceeding 4 minutes in length per speaker, which may be extended at the discretion of the board president. Each privilege of the floor session is not to exceed 32 minutes in length. Speakers may comment on matters related to district business only. The board will not permit in public sessions discussions involving individual district personnel by name or by title or students. Persons wishing to discuss matters involving individual district personnel or students should present their comments and or concerns to the superintendent during regular business hours. All speakers are to conduct themselves in a civil manner. Obscene language, libelous statements, threats of violence, statements advocating racial, religious, or other forms of prejudice will not be tolerated. I'm going to just use the timer again for those signed up, just kind of facing you, so you can just keep an eye on it yourselves. There if needed. All right. We have a few signups this evening. First up, we have Pam Sanzani.
You pronounced it well. Thank you. I'm not gonna take much of your time, so good evening.
From what I've seen during some of the past board meetings, it seems that the board has only been acknowledging complaints from parents regarding the special education department. I'd like to know why the board hasn't shared some of the communications they have received that I've heard of that have been positive feedback regarding this department. It portrays that you only want the public to hear negative feedback and not the positive. I've worked in the special ed department for nearly 4 years and know firsthand the dedication and care the staff have for each and every child that is classified. So when a parent attacks our department, it trickles down to all of us and hurts us all. We have fantastic staff in our department who care about what they do, and it's a shame that the board only wants input about the few parents that have an issue, not that have positive things to say. Thank you.
All right, thank you for sharing.
You need the YouTube timer.
Okay. There we go. All right, thank you again. Much appreciated. Next we have Patty Hartley.
Very good, you're on. Good evening, my name is Patty Hartley. And I'm here to discuss or talk about school safety. It's come to my attention that at Goshen High School, the fire alarm is attached to the bell system. That means that the bell system can never be turned off. And tomorrow, the kids are taking the New York State Regents. And approximately every 40 minutes, the bell will ring, and then 4 minutes later, it will ring again to start the next class. I guess that's a warning bell, but every 40 and then 4 minutes throughout the day, the bell will ring. And I believe tomorrow the children taking the Regents are IDP 504 English language learners, and they are our most vulnerable students and do not need any additional distractions while sitting for an exam for an extended period of time. And not to discount anybody that's taking the test who's not in this classification. Any student that's sitting through the test should be able to take the test quietly. If there is a better system available, I urge you to make changes as soon as possible and to include maybe this change in the belt, updating the bell system for next year's budget, or making some sort of change so that students can take tests in a quiet manner. I would also like to inquire about the installation of panic buttons in every classroom in the school district. I believe the high school has panic buttons installed into classroom phones, but most kids don't even know how to use a telephone today. If a teacher or an adult is in the classroom and there's an emergency, medical, or if there's a fight, he or she or they may not be able to use the phone or call for help because they're dealing with a safety or medical emergency. If this happens, it may be left to a child to yell for help in the hallway or run to the nurse or, find another adult in the classroom. I think a separate button should be installed for emergencies in every classroom. Thank you, and I'd like to thank all of you for everything you do for the district. I know it's part of education, month. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Excuse the beeps.
Did I go over?
Yeah, she's gonna go in a second. I double check.
Oh, okay.
It might be an easier way. We'll find that. Right, next up we have Dr. Heather Henderson.
Good evening. My name is Dr. Heather Hendershot. I proudly serve as the Director of the Pupil Personnel Services of the Goshen Central School District for the past 7 years. I am also President of the Goshen Administrators Association. I am using my title tonight not out of arrogance or entitlement, but out of gratitude to the taxpayers of my hometown for providing me with the opportunity to pursue my dream, giving back to the community I have fond memories of and grew up in, and achieving the highest level of education one can receive. These are two things I hold close to my heart, take seriously, and appreciate daily. The responsibility of a school administrator is not to be taken lightly. It is not about status. It's about advocating for the students, families, and staff one serves while remaining true to oneself and staying focused on one's core priorities and values. Or what renowned Harvard executive fellow Bill George calls your true north. An effective leader advocates for their people under adversity, even if it means consequences will ensue. I have reflected on the comments made during public sessions for several months. I've spent countless hours attempting to ascertain the cause of the dissent of a select few. I am a reflective leader because self-reflection in school leadership is a powerful tool for personal and professional development, decision-making improvement, and creating a positive and effective learning environment. I have remained silent. However, tonight I am compelled to address the public, to remain faithful to my moral compass, and to advocate for one of the neediest student populations in the district. Since my tenure as director of PPS began in 2017, the district has consistently met the New York State education requirements in the area of graduation rate, dropout rates, suspension rates, and least restrictive placements in separate settings for students with disabilities. Our programs and services have grown tremendously since my arrival. Our staffing has increased. The district now offers a full continuum of services. Our professional development training is robust. We heavily focus on reading, math, social emotional learning, and executive functioning. The PPS department's shared goal is to assist students in becoming productive members of society. I have an ethical and moral obligation as a school administrator to uphold the laws and regulations on behalf of the students. I am obligated to the taxpayers to ensure public funds are not gifted and sound decisions are made to allow our children to receive a free and appropriate public education in the least restrictive environment. Over the past 4 months, the PPS department has been portrayed as apathetic, hostile, and destructive. Department leaders have been depicted as tyrants using fear and intimidation to create a climate that is unhealthy, uncollaborative, and toxic. Some community members have used public shaming and social media influencing to scrutinize the dedicated staff within the PPS department. As a result of this cancel culture phenomenon, the department has been victim of deplatforming, which can result in significant future employment-related circumstances and have profound personal and professional consequences. I myself have been the victim of defaming comments and horrific rumors on a professional and personal level, which are unacceptable. I have yet to be asked by the Board of Education for information related to the claims made in public, yet the comments of a select few are used to evaluate the PPS department. This is disheartening, as the PPS staff members are a dedicated group of individuals who spend countless hours working with students and providing support to parents. Through these months, when the PPS department has faced public scrutiny, it has not missed a beat, which is a testament to their dedication to the families of the district. I am forever grateful to the department for remembering their why and purpose. At this time, if any parent or staff member has a concern related to PPS, please contact me. You may contact me by phone or email, and I will gladly take the time to discuss your concerns individually. If you are not satisfied with the results of our meeting, I encourage you to speak with the superintendent of schools. Despite the barriers and perceptions placed before the PPS department, we remain committed to work collaboratively with the parents and students of the Goshen Central School District.
Thank you very much for sharing. All right, thank you again, everybody. All right, moving on to our next item, the President's report. This evening, just 2 points that I wanted to share with everybody. At one of our prior board meetings, the Board of Education did approve a company to prepare an audit for the PPS department as presented to us by Dr. Coates, and described the function of that audit, described how a few years ago there was one done, it was successful with positive feedback. I thought it was a good idea and supported it. In kind of a last moment, if you will, meeting with the team, the board felt that we needed to move in a different direction with a different company, not to cancel the audit in its entirety. The understanding was made clear to Dr. Coates that the board felt this was important and we wanted to continue forward with this. And we would like to find other companies. Dr. Coates has been diligently reaching out to other companies to find the right fit for our team so we can ensure that we have a proper, appropriate, productive audit, and we plan on moving forward with that. So I just wanted to kind of give everybody an update on that, as that was something that came up between meetings. The second item is the board has been working together with Dr. Coates to work on putting together a date that we can have a community roundtable discussion where the platform of this meeting will be more of a questions and answered open discussion. In this public meeting, the format is fairly rigid to a certain degree and may not be appropriate for us to respond to certain items. We've gone over that with, the understanding of privilege of the floor, but the board hears the community and wants to be able to have a platform for us to have a dedicated meeting to speak together. So this is something that we've been working collaboratively with Dr. Coates on, that we're hoping to get on our calendar very soon, and to be able to invite the public out and come speak in a more open platform. We think that'll be a really good thing, and we welcome, all types of feedback, good, bad, and otherwise. So we look forward to getting that on the calendar very soon and hearing from more people. And that's all I have on my report for this evening. Right, our student representative is not here this evening, so we'll go right on to our legislative update from Oxford, Mr. John Sullivan.
Thank you. So we had a Oxford meeting a week ago, and the entire meeting was discussing the Lower Hudson Education Council and basically the benefits it could be to our area. So currently it's Rockland, Putnam, Dutchess schools that are part of it, and they're entertaining and allowing Orange County school districts to join. And really what they do is they provide us a greater mouthpiece, if you will, for advocacy on the issues that are important to our area. Dr. Coates, I was fortunate enough to have, one of, I think the only students on the meeting, so Dr. Coates in the previous capacity of working with them, so maybe you could talk a little more articulately about their benefits.
Sure, so the only other county that's included in Lower Hudson is Westchester County as well. That they are looking to regional position, the power of advocacy of similar issues, similar funding issues, just demographic issues that a region faces. One of the benefits of the Lower Hudson Council is they hire a professional consultant to handle their advocacy in Albany. Because of that, Albany listens. I will tell you that advocacy group has a strong voice in Albany. When issues come up, they're able really to move the needle many times when something needs to change. For example, electric buses has been a big issue that's coming up recently. They've been really pushing for change. They really believe in the power of numbers. Each specific school boards association that exists that's a member of Lower Hudson also has the ability to make decisions on what information is going to get pushed to the advocacy group, and it allows them to create a really unified, purposeful message. And my suggestion is that if they vote to bring Orange County in, that the board strongly consider joining the group. I really think there is some value to the organization.
They did send a letter to all the districts, basically explaining the process for joining and the fees. We should expect that in the coming weeks to months. And I encourage everybody to look at their website. They have a pretty informative website, and I think if you read the topics that they're currently advocating for, I think it aligns very closely with our goals as well.
All right, do we have any other board member committee reports or updates? Schedule wise, this week, there's another facilities meeting coming up. And then throughout the rest of this month, I believe we have 2 or maybe 3 more policy meetings for the policy committee to continue working through our policy audit. Tonight, there will be a few more policies reviewed and adopted. All right, there's no other reports at this time. I think we'll jump into the superintendent's report.
Thank you, sir. So just following up on what Mr. Loftus had started with, I've spoken with Orange Ulster BOCES, Ms. Carrie Stroka, regarding being a facilitator for a future community roundtable to discuss topics and concerns and issues and things that are going on that are also positive in regards to special education. She is more than willing to assist us with that. She would love an opportunity to either speak directly with the board or hear your thoughts and what you would like to see in such a roundtable. But BOCES is very open to helping us and help to facilitate as, if you will, a neutral third party to listen and help coalesce those thoughts, and would be very interested in helping the district to bring all the concerns, positives, everything together to help us move forward. So if the board doesn't have any objections, I could certainly start to work with BOCES to start to arrange something more formal. Again, for her to perhaps come and speak to you directly, correspond by email, however you might like to see that happen.
Thoughts? Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. I think it's a good idea.
I will reach out to her in writing. Maybe I'll include you just to start, Mr. Loftus.
That would be great. Thank you.
Also in your packet tonight is a draft of the 2024-2025 calendar. If we could just take a look at that just for a few minutes. So, as we all know, legislatively, there has been a new holiday added to the calendar for the 24-25 school year. That is the Lunar New Year in January. You'll see that reflected on the January 25 calendar. One of the things that we have to make some decisions on, if you will, is number of snow days, where might these days fall? My recommendation this year was somewhat of an anomaly because we had a capital improvement project, so we only went with 3 snow days so that we could front load 2 conference days. Because Scotchtown faculty and staff were just able to get back in the building literally as they were walking through the door. They didn't really have a lot of lead time. Comfort level really lies at 184 attendance days. That gives us 4 solid snow days, keeping in mind that we have 2 different parallel obligations here. Our teacher's contract calls for 180 contact days with students, up to 4 conference days as well. The reality for state aid funding is the number is really only 180. You only need 176 days, plus 4 of those can be conference days. So we're running 2 parallel issues there. So if we had some sort of catastrophic event, a hurricane, some natural disaster, we could pull that back. Historically, we have run in the 184-2 range that this draft is predicated on. So a couple key pieces that I'd like to point out in this calendar. We did call for the superintendent's conference day to be on August 30th with the first day of school on September 3rd. There would be another countywide conference day on November 5th. I would strongly recommend, because it is a federal election year, to keep that as a countywide conference day. There will be, in this version, 2 full weeks in the December recess. January again has the new Lunar New Year in it. It is only a long weekend in this version, with the 14th and the 17th off in February. We also added a day for the Friday before Memorial Day. And then the one variable that we do have, if you will, is there's one more day that we could put as a day off. And we did put a long weekend in March because you have somewhat of a pretty long stretch there without any days off. One piece I will tell you that I do like about this version is it backloads some days so that if we have a tough winter and I do need to pull some days back, for instance, I can pull the 23rd of May back and make that an attendance day. On this version, it goes then to the April break. You know, there's some latitude here that if we have emergency closings that we certainly can have some flexibility there. Some districts don't have the requirement in their collective bargaining agreements in terms of required number of attendance days. You will see that 1 or 2 districts in the area I know is contemplating a full week off in February again. Again, with us trying to meet the spirit of what is in ours, I just don't see a pathway forward without only going out with maybe 2-3 snow days, emergency closing days, which I would not advise. So again, there are some pieces that could be tweaked in here, and I just wanted to get some dialogue going on this because it would be great at the meeting in February to adopt this so that everybody has it for the new year. On that before we move on.
We want to make any initial comments? Not yet. Okay, we continue.
Great. So I'm going to ask Mr. Pantaleone to come forward. So since Mr. Pantaleone has onboarded as high school principal, he has been speaking with Carter and myself about looking for positive and proactive measures to address behavior in the high school. And through a great deal of his research, he has come across 2 programs that he has done a great amount of research on. He's drawn me into the research, Mr. Carter into the research, that he would like to propose to move forward with in terms of mechanisms by which we can continue to improve the overall culture of the high school and look at ways for more positive student outcomes. I asked him tonight to prepare a brief presentation on what these two programs are and what they might look like. And without further ado, I'm going to turn it over to him so he can give you the narrative on what he has been working on.
Good evening, and thank you everyone, and for the opportunity to present on two programs this evening that were presented to me through my connections with the Mental Health Association of New York. I presented with them several times and had a great relationship with Amy Malloy, the director, and she presented an opportunity of a grant-funded program or programs that is funded by the Homeland Security, and asked if Goshen would be one of the 4 schools to take part in that. So in doing my research and my conversations with Amy Malloy, and this is also funded through the University of Albany, Alberti Center, I took a deep look into it, and I'm here this evening to present those 2 great programs. So the first program is Norms and Bystander Intervention Training, or NABIT by its acronym. So this program is developed at the University of Buffalo and Alberti Center, which is a hub of anti-bullying resources and programs. And Dr. Nickerson, Amanda Nickerson, is the one that's leading this research. She is a leader in the field of anti-bullying. She has many books published, and she's really known for her expertise in it. The second program is through the Department of Homeland Security, and this is referred to as Communities Acting to Refer and Engage. This one I'm going to get a little bit into is more of a threat assessment model in training not only students and staff to recognize targeted violence and come up with protocols of how to report it and also to eliminate it. And really, the big thing is we always reflect in Goshen High School is looking at our why. In looking at our why, we looked at the data over the past year, and we are celebrating a decrease in discipline compared month to month over the year. So you see some staggering declines that are really due to our amazing staff, the relationships that we foster with our students by being present and visible, by taking part of their daily lives, also the programs that we put in, but more importantly, the ability to meet every child where they're at. So we're excited to continue this trend with the CARE and NABIT program because it focuses on something different than other programs. It lends itself to student voice. And so students are going to be at the hub of facilitating and being part of this program. And so here's Amanda Nickerson, and a quote that I liked how she framed her research is, broadly speaking, bystander training is what the NABIT program is all about. Is an approach that teaches people how to recognize concerning matters and how to make decisions to do something about it and then to take action. So this is something that we work on from the SAS level. My daughter is a kindergarten student, and we talk about bucket filling and being an upstander and making good decisions. And we also have to differentiate between tattling, right? But we make those conversations. And so it starts at that primary level and all the way up to the high school of how do you really have an impact on your fellow students and the culture of the building. So this is a brief video about the Alberti Center and Dr. Nickerson just commenting on her work.
I've been bullied before, and it's not a good feeling.
I know people who are bullied. I see it in the hallways, and I see it every day, actually.
It's an important subject. You can't just avoid something that can change a kid's future.
What do you think you would do if you saw someone being bullied? At the Alberti Center, we focus on bullying abuse, understanding it, and its prevention. It's really important that we recognize that bullying is a form of abuse as opposed to just a rite of passage or something that kids just have to go through.
So Dr. Nickerson in her work heads the Alberti Center in the University of Buffalo, and she actually applied and received a $240,000 grant from the Homeland Security to fund this program with 4 schools in New York State, Goshen being one of them, for 4 years. And what's nice about the program that we'll get into it is that once it's funded, and it goes down to getting sub-coverage for our teachers, bringing in trainers from Buffalo and throughout the state, experts in these 2 programs, that there's a train-the-trainer model so we can sustain this over a period of time where we train our next set of teachers and another cohort of students gets trained in this process. So in terms of digging into the NABIT program, It's looking at creating a positive environment that teaches students to go from being bystanders to upstanders. And this is through recognizing harassment, bullying on all facets, coming up with strategies and skills, and really those soft skills to be able to report it and mediate situations where appropriate. Now, the CARE program is switching gears to threat assessment by the Homeland Security. This is enhancing students' ability to recognize behaviors that might indicate to us a pattern of or a potential threat in targeted violence. And it's the old adage, see something, say something, but do we spend time in being intentional to our students and to our staff to report something that may be off? And all it takes is one staff member to recognize that trusted relationship to solve or to prevent a tragedy from taking place. And again, as we look in today's culture, school violence is not going away. And we could spend, millions of dollars on SROs and 3M and whatnot, but it really starts at the heart of the matter of our kids and staff trained effectively to identify this before it even becomes a problem. And really looking on in terms of how to intervene as part of the training, it teaches our students 5 steps: to notice potential problematic situations, to identify when it's appropriate to intervene, to assume personal responsibility for intervention, know how to intervene, and take action. So basically, we're teaching our students to report, to be able to be in situations where they can diffuse it, almost like peer mentor situations. And so we're looking for students across the spectrum, from all different areas and segments of our student body to really populate this first cohort. And then also with training, it's to direct, distract, support, and help, and really be the one that is able to stand up for someone that may need it at a tough time. Now, part of this training is also to take surveys and look at the data. So our students would be able to make infographics and to share within our school culture. This is an example of a school that was piloted. East students who saw someone being purposely left out tried to include them. And as we know, as bullying and harassment can be a situation with isolation. One of the things that you notice when you go to even elementary school, SAS, there's a buddy bench there on the playground. And that's for students who want to play with someone. And that's something that we teach our skills, our kids from the primary age up. Go sit with someone, reach out a hand instead of filming something, right? That's what we're looking at. And at the East, a grade being bullied or harassed, you should try to stop it. And then in terms of a little bit more into the training, so the NAVIT program is looking to first train 50 students in small groups. And so they would look at 6 to 7 students in that cohort, and there's 4 to 5 one-hour sessions, and then pre and post surveys, and then a training of the trainer model. So again, our staff would be trained how to roll this out in subsequent years, whether through the different health or phys ed classes, or our social workers, guidance counselors, administrators. So what we're doing is year in and out training staff to facilitate these programs. The CARE program incorporates more staff and 50 students as well. And the same thing, we're looking at training first 50 students and 20 staff in year 1, and then by year 4 and 5, now that exponentially grows each cohort. And here's the timeline. So NAVIT would begin in spring. It'd start with flyers and informations, in our newsletters, our student clubs, student senate, NHS, our PB&J club, our positivity club would help spread this out. We would ask students through Google Forms if they want to participate in this and take part in our first cohort. And then we start trainings. So the trainings would be geared in the 4 to 5 one-hour sessions, really how to build capacity, how to build our students' skills, and also our staff would be present to learn these strategies as well. The CARE Act would start in this fall, and it begin with the same process of getting information out, asking students to take part in it, and then also selecting students and then beginning the trainings. And so, recently I sent out information on an Explorer program with a local sheriff's office that wants to do training, expose students to career. And I was inundated with the amount of students that are interested in law enforcement careers. And with that, we know that our students, and as we look to implement that Explorer program for our students, we looked at ways that they can help incorporate that within our own student population. And what's great about this is something that they will align with our board goals and procedures and policies. So I went over our code of conduct and all the restorative practices and methodology, and they will align these trainings to parallel those programs to ensure that it's personalized and customized to Goshen. So when we're looking to, educate our students and staff, faculty, community, parents, these are things that are gonna be ingrained, not that top down from an adult to a student, but students are gonna be teaching their peers, adults, their families, and that's a way that we solidify and have sustainability. It's not a program that is canned or rolled out and then, we have teachers have professional development training. It starts with the students, and that's how it's gonna grow organically. And something that, just to add on to that, with the model, this is something that once we have the trainers available, this can go down to the middle school as well, and looking to also have ability to have elementary facets to it to really have it from a base level. Any questions? Thank you.
I think one of the pieces that was most attractive when we did the conference calls with the facilitators of the program, their willingness to look at the work that we've already done. They wanted to see our code of conduct. They wanted to hear about what we've already accomplished because they're looking to integrate their work into what the districts are doing as well.
Absolutely, and this model that we would be taking part of, that we're fortunate enough to take part in, would be really Goshen would serve as a benchmark for other schools to follow throughout New York State and hopefully from a national basis. But the element of having students trained, and I know Dr. Coates likes that it's free as well, is also
Never a bad thing.
Never a bad thing. It's something that we're excited to roll out as a team. Thank you.
Thank you for all your research and your efforts, Mr.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir. That'll conclude for me this evening.
Right, thank you very much. You may have noticed I skipped around a little bit in the agenda. I knew Dr. Coates had some additional points regarding the community roundtable meeting, so I'm just gonna dial it back slightly for a couple of minutes. Tonight we have a few first reading and readoption policies. I think most of the folks have received these and had some time to look through them. But we will be looking to have our first reading and readoption of the voting procedures, board organizational meeting, committees of the board, school attorney, policies, development, adoption, implementation, and review. That will be on the agenda later. If you want to just spend a few minutes flipping through this just one last time, maybe we'll just take a couple of minutes here and then we'll jump back into our next reports. How's everybody going? All right, thank you. Moving on to our next order of business. Assistant Superintendent for Business Report. So we're going to talk about that.
Thank you and good evening. But the first week in January, we had the internal auditors were here doing their risk assessment. They will be coming back with their findings and we'll have a audit committee meeting somewhere in the near future. The 24-25 budget kickoff is started and our meetings have been set up with the administrators and the directors for the end of this month and the beginning of February. Financial reports tonight are for the month of December. We received some state aid in. We received general aid, $919,000, lottery aid, $144,000, excess cost aid, $906,000. And then we also received a pilot payment, $23,000 from Glenmere Wind Solar. And the interest earnings I've been reporting to you each month because we are still receiving a good interest rate. They were almost $211,000 for the month of December. We've spent a total of $34.1 million through the end of December, and our earnings and revenue are $67.8 million. And we are in line with where we were last year. Any questions? Thank you.
All right, thank you very much. Now moving on to our Assistant Superintendent for Curriculum, Instruction, Personnel, and Technology Report, Mr. Jason Carter.
Thank you, Mr. Loftus. Good evening, everyone. A few brief updates for you this evening. We'll start off with the New York State computer-based testing simulation. So in preparation for the 3-8 assessments that will be coming up starting in April, we have a mandatory computer-based testing simulation. So on the 26th, which is Friday, our students 3 through 8 will go through the computer-based testing simulation with CJ Hooker, having ELA in all grades and students in GIS doing simulation in math, all grades 3, 4, 5. So again, the purpose of a computer-based testing simulation is to just provide practice within the actual testing system. And it also gives the district a chance to monitor the network and troubleshoot anything that may pop up within the exterior system. So it is a good opportunity for us. It is rather short. It's not as extensive as a regular operational exam. In speaking with our principals, I anticipate that this may be anywhere between 30 to 40 minutes, just a chance for our students to log on, explore, get used to the tools, see what it's like in preparation for that operation. Next up, we have the NAEP testing. So this is something that we may not have seen in quite some time here in Goshen. So the NAEP testing will occur at the CJ Hooker Middle School. And so it is a pilot test for us this year, and I'll explain that in a few minutes. NAEP, the National Assessment of Educational Progress, is a test that usually comes out specifically in reading and math, but also in other content areas. But most times in ELA and math, it's a bi-yearly, whereas, for instance, US History, Civics may not be on a bi-yearly schedule. And the purpose of the exam is not to take a look at an individual Goshen class or an individual Goshen student, but rather to take a look at comparable students and demographics throughout the nation, and a snapshot in time, meaning the year, and also in the long term for comparison measures. So if you are taking a regular NAEP test, you will always find the nation's report card, which would list the performance of the students as a whole, not individualized. In this particular situation, the middle school, grade 8, was randomly selected to take a pilot test. And the purpose of the pilot test is simply to take a good look at the questions, how groups of students are answering, and to generate test questions for the next NAEP assessment. So again, we've been randomly selected, grade 8, for February 7th, 2024. 50 students were randomly selected from the 8th grade class. There was actually a lot of work that was put into preparing for this in data upload. So we had to work with representatives of NAEP, upload all the student data, and then they did what they do as an organization to select at random. This assessment we anticipate will take approximately 2 hours to complete, and it'll be administered over 2 sessions. With that, NAEP also has survey questions that our students will answer. We did send notifications out to our 8th grade families of those that were randomly selected. And although the test does have a massive purpose nationally, if there is a family who really wishes for their students to not take the exam, they have an opportunity to reach out to our building principal, Ms. Carmen, or assistant principal, Ms. Weber, to express their concern and refuse the test if necessary. If that is the case, if that does happen, NAEP will work with us to randomly select those that will fill it. There really isn't a rhyme or reason for the selection of C.J. Hooker Middle School. It's a part of their formula. I couldn't tell you why we were selected. What I can tell you, the results of this assessment will not be published. It, as I had said, goes right to NAEP for the purpose of designing new test questions for the future. Next up, Scholastic Art Awards. So this is a really good thing for us. We're very proud, and for as long as I've been here, and some of you have been around for a decent amount of time as well, I believe we've had record numbers of our art students in C.J. Hooker and the high school receiving gold key, silver key, and also honorable mention awards. So I don't want to miss anything. I want to give you accurate numbers, so I'll just read what I had written from the release, and we do plan to get this to Jennifer Turiano so that she can place it on the web. So again, these are art students from C.J. Hooker and Goshen High School. I couldn't express enough to the public how proud we are of these students for not only working diligently to meet the deadline and to have completed works of art, but to actually submit them for the Scholastic Arts and have them judged. It's a pretty tremendous feat. For the gold key, you look at approximately 1% of our students that receive gold key awards and then go on to compete at a national level, and we actually have those who will compete at that level this year. So Goshen High School brought home 8 gold key awards. We had 14 silver key, and we had 13 honorable mention. Pretty impressive. C.J. Hooker brought home 16 gold key awards, 18 silvers, and 30 honorable mentions. So all of the gold and silver award winners, they'll go to SUNY New Paltz to be a part of an award ceremony being held on February 2nd. As I had mentioned, we do have 7 gold key winners that will have their work moved on to be judged at the national level. So you're looking at what we would refer to as those 1%, which is also really impressive. Students had the opportunity to complete works in painting, drawing, photography, architecture, sculpture, and ceramics and glass, among others. There was also a literature piece that they could complete. Just want to mention, Mrs. Cahugi always kind of takes the bull by the horns at the high school level for Scholastic Arts, so we want to thank her for her hard work in organizing all this and getting everyone ready for submission. And also Mrs. Brown and Mr. Perez at the middle school worked very hard to make this possible. Just want to say thank you to the department and congratulations to all of our students, and we'll be sure to get a proper recognition on the website. Also want to mention that tomorrow begins the January Regents window, beginning with ELA and living environment, running out to the 26th. We don't have anyone sitting, but that would have been Earth Science and Chem. We have 57 total exams that will be administered in January. Quite pleased with that, and we wish all of our students the best of luck as they sit for those examinations. If you're wondering about anything with potential weather, we have a good idea of what we need to do, how we might do it. However, we're not necessarily allowed to speak about that until the if happens, meaning if there's a winter cancellation. We'll be prepared. Okay. And that will conclude my review. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much. Moving on, I need a motion to approve the consent agenda. Brett, Don. Resolved that the Board of Education hereby arranges for the special education programs and services based upon the recommendations made for preschool and school-age students with disabilities by the Committee on Preschool Special Education, CPSE, and Committee on Special Education, CSE, during the period from November 14th, 2023 through and including January 9th, 2024, and directs the district to arrange for the provisions of said special education programs and services to such preschool and school-age students with disabilities as recommended during such time period by the CPSE and CSE. Be it further resolved upon the recommendation of the Superintendent of Schools, Board of Education accepts the retirement of Jerry Krish, foreign language teacher, effective June 30th, 2024. Ms. Krish has been with the district for 31 years. Be it further resolved upon the recommendation of the Superintendent of Schools, the Board of Education accepts the retirement of Arthur Aversa, school bus driver, effective January 22nd, 2024. Mr. Aversa has been with the district for 9 years. Be it further resolved upon the recommendation of the Superintendent of Schools, the Board of Education accepts the retirement of Lloyd Frawley, school bus driver, effective December 30th, 2023. Mr. Frawley has been with the district for 30 years. Be it further resolved upon the recommendation of the Superintendent of Schools, the Board of Education accepts the retirement of Keith Brown, head custodian, effective January 31st, 2024. Mr. Brown has been with the district for 22 years. Be it further resolved upon the recommendation of the Superintendent of Schools, the Board of Education accepts the retirement of Gail Scott, courier, effective January 20th, 2024. Ms. Scott has been with the district for 22 years. Be it further resolved upon the recommendation of the Superintendent of Schools, the Board of Education approves the remainder of the consent agenda as presented. All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Abstained? Aye. Right. Congratulations to all you retirees. Good luck in your next chapter. All right, we have no old business, so moving on to new business. I need a motion to approve minutes. Shannon and Billy. Be it resolved upon the recommendation of the Superintendent of Schools, the Board of Education approves the minutes of the December 18th, 2023 regular board meeting. All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? I need a motion to approve transportation routing analysis contract. Brett and Ashley. Be resolved upon the recommendation of the Superintendent of Schools, the Board of Education approves a contract with Fiber Fundamentals for the analysis of transportation routes and rideship rates effective January 23rd, 2024, at an expense of $11,400 for 120 hours of consulting services. Be it further resolved, the Board of Education authorizes the superintendent to execute the contract. All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Our next order here is to approve a change to the Board of Education meeting for the Holy Goshen vote, although we do need to fill in the time for that meeting. Last time we had a very brief meeting regarding this vote. We did it this morning at 7:30 a.m. Would all the board members be open to that? The proposed change is for April 18th, from the 25th to the 18th.
I agree.
Okay. And is everybody okay with the 7:30 time frame? All right, I need a motion to change the Board of Education meeting date for the OU BOCES vote. John and Ashley. Be resolved that the Board of Education changes the Board of Education meeting date for the board vote on the Orange Ulster BOCES budget and BOCES member election from April 25th, 2024 to April 18th, 2024 at 7:30 a.m. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? I need a motion to approve the policy updates, the first readings, the renumbering, renaming, and readoption. I have Billy and Shannon. Be resolved upon the recommendation of the superintendent of schools, the Board of Education approves the first reading, waives the second reading, renumbering, renaming, and readoption of the policies as presented. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? I need a motion to approve the proposal from Land Associates for the electrical upgrade at the bus garage. John? Shannon? Be resolved that the Board of Education hereby approves the proposal from Land Associates Engineering, Planning, Architecture Surveying LLP to provide architectural and engineering services for the required upgrade to the electrical service and installation of bus charging infrastructure at the bus garage to meet the mandate that all new school buses sold in New York State must be zero emission by 2027 for a fee of $7,600 for said services. Be it further resolved, the Board of Education authorizes the superintendent to execute the proposal. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? I need a motion to approve an agreement between the Goshen Central School District and interim 10-month assistant principal. Brett and Ashley. Be it resolved, the Board of Education hereby authorizes the superintendent of schools to execute an employment agreement dated January 12th, 2024 with Roy Reese to serve on a contractual, non-tenure bearing basis as the interim 10-month high school assistant principal. To commence on January 11th, 2024 and continue until no later than April 30th, 2024 at a salary of $500 per day. Be it further resolved in the event that the principal of the high school is not physically present in the high school on one or more days or portions thereof during the 2023-2024 school year, that the interim 10-month assistant principal be appointed acting principal for all purposes, including short-term student discipline matters pursuant to section 3214 of the New York State Education Law. All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? I need a motion to accept the donations and authorize the increase in the budget. John and Ashley. Be resolved upon the recommendation of the superintendent of schools, Board of Education accepts the following donations from the Scotchtown Avenue Elementary School PTO. $27.25 to support the printing through BOCES. Be it further resolved, the Board of Education approves increasing the 2023-2024 budget to support the associated expenses. Appropriations totaling $27.25, revenues totaling $27.25. All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? I need a motion to approve budgetary transfers. Billy and Ashley. Be resolved upon the recommendation of the superintendent of schools, Board of Education approves the following budgetary transfers in aggregate over $105,000. Changes to budgeted OU BOCES service requests related to funding new students, rate adjustments, conference attendance and software, dated 12/22/2023, in the amount of $753,472.02. Fund behaviorist services, originally budgeted under BOCES code, services now provided by the Center for Discovery, dated 1/11/24, in the amount of $122,000. All those in favor?
Aye.
Moving on to the matters of student discipline, I need a motion for the expungement request. Brett? Billy? Be resolved, the Board of Education hereby denies the expungement request of the following student discipline below, consistent with the Code of Conduct. Student Code 01-2224. Date of discipline, December 13th, 2023. Be it further resolved, the Board of Education hereby approves the superintendent of schools to take the necessary steps to inform the student that the approval was denied and that the student has utilized their one expungement request during their academic career in the district. All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? I need a motion to approve the agreement for special education services, music therapy services. Shannon and Scott. Be it resolved upon the recommendation of the superintendent of schools, the Board of Education approves entering into an agreement for services with Therapeutic Horizons to provide music therapy services to special education students 2023-2024 school year, according to the following terms. $150 per 45-minute treatment session for in-home services. Be it further resolved, the Board of Education authorizes the superintendent to execute the agreement. All those in favor? Opposed? I need a motion to approve individual agreements for special education services, sub-allocation of IDEA-ARP 611 and 619 funds. I have Scott and Billy. Be it resolved upon the recommendations of the superintendent of schools, the Board of Education enters into individual agreements with the Center for Spectrum Services, Center for Discovery, and the Fred S. Keller School to provide special education services for students and for the district to sub-allocate IDEA-ARP 611 and 619 funds to said providers on a per student basis for the grant year between July 1st, 2023 through June 30th, 2024. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? I need a motion to approve the agreement for special education services, Manhattan Psychology. Brett? John? Be it resolved upon the recommendation of the superintendent of schools, the Board of Education approves entering into an agreement for services with Dr. Chelsea Rosen, Manhattan Psychological Group, PC, to provide consultation services for special education students effective for the 2023-2024 school year as follows. $500 per hour rate, up to the required hours on the student's IEP. $3,000 daily rate between 8 a.m. and 4 p.m. $2,000 half daily rate between 8 a.m. and 2 p.m. Be it further resolved, the Board of Education authorizes the superintendent to execute the agreement. All those in favor? Opposed? I need a motion to approve the audit engagement letter from Nugent Hausler, PC. Billy? Shannon? Be it resolved upon the recommendation of the superintendent of schools, the Board of Education approves the audit engagement letter dated January 3rd, 2024 from Nugent and Hausler, PC, related to the external audit of the fiscal year ending June 30th, 2024. All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? All right. Moving on to our next item, privilege of the floor. Same green page applies. We have one sign up, Maureen, no additional signups? No. Okay. Any Winkler?
All right, I've got 4 minutes. I gotta run through this real quick. My name's Amy Winkler. You all know me from sitting in the back of this room, as I've attended many board meetings live for a long time now. I'm a mom of 3 kids, 2 boys, 1 girl. My boys graduated Goshen in 2022 and 2023 and now attend college. Our oldest son is at East Stroudsburg University studying athletic training and is on the Division II wrestling team. Our youngest son is at the University of Albany studying computer science. Side note, just a shout out to CTech, which both of my boys attended and loved, helped set them up for their college and their future. It's totally awesome. Last but not least, we have 1 daughter who currently attends Goshen High School. We've been in this community a long time, combined 36 years of Goshen school experience. Up until 17 months ago, we never had to deal with any kind of disciplinary issues with our kids. So when our daughter was given out of school suspension with her first offense, my husband and I immediately wanted to find out how this happened and why the punishment was so severe, especially because she had no previous disciplinary issues. That same day, we said we wanted to appeal the suspension, but by the time that the appeal happened, she had already served the suspension. We appealed to the board to have this suspension expunged because it had gone against your code of conduct, but the board denied our appeal. We appealed to the New York State Commissioner of Education. New York State strongly urged that it go back to the board and look at it again. But you guys denied it again. So it had to go back to the commissioner for a final ruling. Finally, after 17 months of this, the commissioner upheld our appeal on the basis that the way the district handled the discipline went against policy. It's unfortunate that we had to take it that far to get an impartial hearing. Thankfully, she immediately ordered that this be expunged from our daughter's record. I have copies of this letter if you guys want it, but I only have 4 minutes. I was gonna read it out loud, but I'd be happy to pass it around. During the course of those 17 months, our daughter was the one who suffered the most. Walked around with this unwarranted, tarnished, disciplinary record hanging over her head. If you know her, this truly upset her. That's not okay. She wants to be a police officer. Having a clean record is important to her. Following rules is important to her. It's hard enough to be a kid today, let alone a kid in special ed who now feels like she couldn't even turn to her own district for help. The same district that denied her not once, but twice. The same district that she's gone to multiple times for help to keep the bullies at bay. But instead the district pushed her and I off. So Nick, I appreciate your putting that together because something's got to change. But I'll save that for another privilege of the floor. The truth is, it was the school district that was wrong and how they handled the discipline. To be honest, I often wonder how she's gotten this far without a chip on her shoulder, but she's a much better person than I could ever be. Makes me wonder how many other kids are feeling this way or have received discipline that went against policy. Long story short, poor disciplinary procedures. The district violated its own policy, the same policies that the commissioner has set in place. What will the board do to ensure that this doesn't happen to other students? How will the board uphold the district accountable for its mistakes? We've raised our kids to lead by example, do the right thing, never ever give up, to fight for what's right. Wish we didn't have to make it go this far, but sadly we did. Please, please make sure this doesn't happen to other kids here in Goshen. Thank you for hearing me out. And I hope that this doesn't cause any issues in the future for our daughter.
Thank you for sharing. All right, moving on to our next agenda item. Any board member issues anybody would like to bring up at this time?
I too just wanted to thank Mr. Pantaleon for his presentation tonight, and I'm looking forward to hearing more about it. I think it sounds excellent, just what the board is looking to for the future of Goshen. So thank you.
Thank you. All right, moving on. I need a motion to go into executive session. Be resolved, the Board of Education will enter into executive session to reconvene for discussions related to the employment history of particular personal persons. All those in favor? Folks? Thank you very much.